Welcome to day number 4. Welcome to day number 7. Day number 12.
Welcome to Do It Heartily.
Well, aloha, boys and girls, and welcome to the Do It Heartily channel. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, hey, wait a minute. This isn't the guy. The guy that's up there is not the normal guy. What's going on? You're right. I'm not the regular guy. I'm not the guy who normally does the thing for Do It Heartily Jr. But Adam and Miss Kathleen are at their house right now. They have a new thing in their house. They have a new little Apollo. There's an Apollo. Wait a minute. No, I don't think it's that kind of Apollo. I think it's this kind of an Apollo thing here. Is that no, it's something different. There we go. It's this Apollo. And he has really dirty diapers. And because of those crazy dirty diapers, Mr. Adams there having to change them, making sure that the house smells a lot better than what it would if he wasn't there. And so because of that, he asked me to help out with today's episode. And I know that you're probably wondering, hey, Mr. Nathan, what is going on with all the stuff behind you? Yeah, it looks like there's an open mine shaft or some dynamite. We'll try to be careful of that, not to set it off, since we do have the lantern burning right above it. But here in South Carolina at Gant Street Baptist Church, we are still in the old gold rush theme here. And that is where we're going to get our lesson from today. And so as we go into our lesson today, we're going to start with like a little history lesson. About 170 years ago, there was a man out in California who was building a water-powered sawmill. Now, he didn't bring water in and pour the water on the logs and it cut the logs. He made a big water wheel. The water turned the water wheel, which worked a saw blade to trim up the logs into boards for him to sell. Well, he was building this thing, and while the construction was going on, some of his workers went down to where the creek and the river was, and they found gold nuggets laying there in the water. They found that gold nugget, those gold nuggets laying in the water, and I'm telling you, they got so excited. They couldn't think about work anymore because they thought they'd hit it rich. And there were some people who did hit it rich, and the gold rush out in California began. Word spread like wildfire. It spread all over the world as people who were looking to get rich, thinking that gold was just laying out there on the ground, would come up, find out where this place was, and just start looking around for gold. The people who traveled to California really didn't realize how difficult it was to get to the actual gold that was worth money. Of the hundreds of thousands of people that came out to California, there was only a few of them that actually found the gold and got rich by the gold. Most people that got rich out there was for selling some sort of a product to the miners who were looking for the gold. At one point, of all of the people out there who had rushed into the old Sutter Mill area to get rich, 75% of them, boys and girls, that's 3 out of every 4 people, were so poor. They hadn't found any gold. They couldn't make ends meet. They didn't have a trade that they were working out there. They had left everything to come find the gold that they thought was laying on the ground. They didn't find it. They had spent all their money. They were so poor, they were sitting around begging food. They could not have enough money to buy a ticket to get on a boat and go back to where they came from, to get on a train to get back to where they came from, or to join a wagon train and go back to where they had come from. Most people who had come out for the gold rush had given up in looking for that gold, and now they're just sitting around begging for food. Oh, there was crime, there was danger. Gold fever, for the most part, didn't pay off like people hoped that it would. They caught the gold fever, but when they figured out the way everything was working, it just didn't deliver on what it promised. There was one of those men whose name was James Turner. He heard that people were tripping over gold nuggets out there in California, so he quit his job, left his sweet wife and daughter, and headed out to California to make it rich. He arrived in California and immediately discovered there was a lot of work in mining for gold. He tried several methods in several different places, and within a few months, he wrote home to tell his wife that he had no more money and he had no gold either. The cost of just a bag of flour was so expensive out there that he couldn't afford to buy it to eat. He wanted to go back home, but pride kept him there. He was determined to find gold at any cost. Well, because James did so poorly at mining, he thought, maybe I could sell my tools and I could get some food and clothes and blankets and come back and sell them to some of the miners. And he had a little bit of success at this for a while, had a little tent that he sold some of these things out of. But then one day, his little tent that he had set up to sell little items out of caught fire and it burnt down. Now, James Turner, he is broke, he is in debt, and almost all of his clothes went up in the fire. It's cold outside. So he tried to find gold again. But because of how rough trying to find gold is on a person, especially in the wintertime, it was so difficult. James was sitting outside in that cold, cold air. He eventually got sick, very sick. Just over a year after leaving his family, his home, his kids, his job, his church, to go out there and strike it rich, James Turner caught gold fever, thought that he was going to get that gold, but he didn't. He caught typhoid and he eventually died. The story of James is a very common one. If you read the stories about people in the gold rush in American history out in California, it seems that very few people made it out of there better off when they arrived. You see, boys and girls, gold fever, when a person has it, they do things they normally would not consider doing. Let me say that again. Whenever a person catches gold fever, they do things that they normally would not consider doing. Psalms 106, verse number 1 and 2, and he says this, "Praise ye the Lord. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good. His mercy endureth forever. Who can utter the mighty acts of the Lord? Who can show forth all his praise?"